Hi, my name's Ian. Welcome to my channel of random stuff, and I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on producing one of these. It's a Turk's head knot. You can use it for all sorts of things. In scouting, you can make a decorative, impromptu woggle out of anything that that's string-like that you find lying around. I teach my scouts a leather cord or the paracord vegetarian option if they so choose as one of their initiation things. Make your own woggle. I've also used it on handles. My hands are relatively large, so where I've got something like a fid tool or something like that the handle isn't quite large enough to be comfortable in the palm of my hand, just tying something like that around the end of the handle just bulks it up enough to make it a bit more comfortable in my hand. You can also make things like serviette, whatever they're called, for the dinner table. I'm not au fait with polite society, but napkin rings. There you go, napkin rings for napkin, whatever. Anything that needs a ring like that. This is just a basic 3 turn one. You can see that, just 3. You can do more, and the more turns you add, obviously the more cord you need, but the more turns you add, then the longer it becomes. So you can make things like handle covers and so on. One good use is to go around, tie a paracord around the axe of a tool, the shaft of a tool, like an axe or something like that. That just makes a sort of grippier, safer handle on the back of it. If you're just going to leave it as a ring, then you can leave it as a ring. If you're going to use it as a handle, or like I said, just to bulk something up or something like that, then you can actually just tighten the knot up around whatever you're tying it onto. Right, so simple basic three threads. I'm going to undo this. What I've got here is about 2 yards, couple of meters or whatever, and you size it according to what you want. It's obviously the more turns you've got, the more cord you will need. The larger or smaller your fingers. I'm going to tie it around my fingers. You'll see that in a second. Using my fingers as a form. Then you may need more. If you, I don't know. It's a lot of it is play by ear, but experiment. Find out how much cord goes through to producing what kind of knot or effect or size that you want. You can also, I'll show you actually when we get to that stage, or I'll explain it to you, but you can use more than one cord to get a multicoloured kind of effect from it. Anyway, so what I've got here is actually about a yard, about a metre, right. So we'll start a couple of fingers like this, and then you go across, leave a bit of an end, so this end won't move, so we can just trap that off somewhere. Let's leave a bit of a working end. Go across diagonally across your fingers like that, around the back, so almost straight down around the back, and then coming up and crossing over again, and then come round, and then at an angle come back again. So on the front it looks like that, and on the back it just looks like that, those 2 lines. So I've come around and virtually horizontally down, and then across an angle, and then virtually horizontally down again around the back, and then when I've come up there, I've come up and crossed them here. Alright, so that's first stage 1, and believe me, this knot looks complicated, but you know, this is really, these first few stages are really the hardest thing. Once you're over that, then it is actually dead easy. Also, you can get, if you're using paracord like I am, or you want to use well, anything that's about that diameter, you can get various screw-in fid needles, paracord working needles, whatever you want to call them, that do help. I'm not going to use one for this example, but they do help when you're doing all the threading and stuff, but it's up to you. Okay, so the next, get your end, your working end, and that goes underneath that loop there that you've made at the top. Right, pull it all the way through. Now you will find, especially with paracord, that it gets twisted and tangled as you go. So just because we're, like with all knotting, keeping things neat and open makes it dead easy to do. If you're all tight like this, or you're not paying attention or not taking care of where your various cords are lying, and it just all becomes a mess, then you're just making things hard for yourself. So untwist the paracord as you're going, it won't make so much of a mess, and it will allow you to stay neat and tidy and easy. Right, so we've got underneath that, so we're going over the top of the other half of it, and at this point you just turn your fingers towards yourself and move the paracord over to there. Right, so I've come under there, over there. Then with this bit, you go and pull that over the top of there. Right, but you've got to retain the gap there as well. So what I normally do is just get my ring finger, plonk my ring finger there to sandwich those two top row bits of cord, and then do that. So what you end up with, sort of, is like a extended figure of eight sort of thing. So you've got this gap here, and this gap here, then you've got the gap that you've made by moving that across to there, you've got another hole here, and then you've got that one down the bottom which is formed by the cross that we've just gone under and over. Okay, and if you ever forget, the Turk's head knot is really made from a series of over under weaves, so if you ever forget which one you're doing next, then just look back at what you've done last. So here we've got, it's gone under here, it's gone over here, so therefore when we come round we're going under and over. So we've gone under, over, now we need to go under here. So we'll get our working end, and that's going to go under there, then it's going to go up through the middle there. So it's this kind of thing that make the fid needles make a little bit easier. But it's not impossible without. So we've gone under there and we're going over there. So we'll pull that all the way through. Then there's another twist, you see, so just get rid of the twist as we go. So it's all nice and neat. Alright, so we've gone under, over. Now, see if you can guess what we do next. So we've got these bits here, we're going to go, because we've gone under, over, next one is under, so we're going to go under this one here, at the top, and of course over that one. So pull that one all the way through, untwist everything, got all of that done, easy, dead. And you can already see the weave pattern forming in what you're doing there. Now all we do is turn our fingers back round again, and we can see we've gone under there, and this is where it gets easy, because we've effectively done one circuit all the way round, and we can see this is our standing end, and we can see that our standing end is, if we come over there, is our next one going under. So all we're going to do from now on in on this knot is to follow the turns that we've already done. So this, effectively, we're now producing the second series of turns. So I've gone over, going under. I'm just following this line around now. Alright, so that's gone over, follow it around. It comes around here, so I'm going to go under there and over the next one. There's our second one. Then it's going over this and under that, again following this. So we've gone under that, we're following this line round, we're going over there, over here and under there. There it goes. Again, like I said, fid needles. Just make it really easy. And if you're teaching this to young people, then you know sometimes the screw-on fids are just make it easier for them to deal with rather than the fiddle things. Okay, so we've got two chords coming around here. Again, we can move our fingers back again, and we can see that chord is coming up here. So we're going under this one here, just keeping everything nice and neat. Like I said, if you keep all of these neat, then you're not going to get yourself into trouble. If you let them overlap each other and just get out of order and a bit messy, then you'll find it harder to see where your under over bits are going, and you might go under over the wrong bit, or you might go back on yourself or anything like that. So so just keep everything neat. And then we're going under here, again take the twists out, and yeah, I mean, now once you've got part way around and it feels, you'll feel it starting to feel more stable and together. If you take it off your fingers too early, then the knot will just fall apart and it'll just be a bit awkward. But there comes a point where it just feels like it's just going to hold its own shape, and at that point you can just take it off your fingers, turn it out a bit, and it just becomes a lot easier to follow around, because then you just turn it round as a ring in your hand. So we've gone following that round there, following that round there, popping up through there, just pull it all through, and again just all we're really doing at this point on, like I said, is just following the line of the bits that we've already done. The turns we've already done are now our guide, and that's why I said at the beginning, this looks like a complicated knot, but it really is easy. The only tricky bit is making sure that you've got all of the turns right at the beginning, all of that when we're doing this and going through and pulling one string over the other. Once you're over that initial 3 or 4 phases of it, the rest of it is just dead easy, and you can just keep going. I'll back up a little bit. Right, so we came, when you turn your fingers back and you effectively start following the line of your working end around, at that point, if you so want to, you can pause, leave your current working end just to the side, and then put a second string in to do the next layer. Leave the working end of that aside, pick up your old working end, run that round, and then alternate them as they're going, and then you'll get, each layer as you're going through will be using a different colour or a different style. Works well with black and brown leather thread, or if you're a scout, you could work the colours of your necker, if you've got a multicoloured necker, into the stripes that you're doing the individual turns. So all of that, just to go over that again, is once you've done your initial turn and you are about to go back underneath to follow where your standing turn goes, then if you want that multicoloured effect, just use a different thread, different cord, follow that next turn around using that different cord, what we've been doing basically on our turn 2, and then turn 3 you can even introduce another colour, or you can pick up one of your original ones and just keep going as much as you like, as long as you've got the thread, the cord for it. You can do experiment, do whatever you like. Right, so but we're doing one colour here, and we are continuing to put our second layer together as we go. So you get the idea of what I'm doing here. So I won't be too careful in actually showing you exactly what's what. Yeah, see that needs to be that side, and that twist needs to come out. So do that as we're going, and what else have I used Turk's heads from? It's a nice finishing knot as well. Even if you're not doing, I mean, you can use a Turk's head, an extended Turk's head, to actually do an entire handle. But another thing you can do that makes things something easy, you can actually tie a Turk's. If you've got a lot of, you need a longer bit of cord for this. But if you tie a Turk's head at one end, and then when that comes out, you can just sort of, do a simple wrap for your handle, and then finish it off with a Turk's head at the bottom. All of this, and just go from there. Then that's another way. So you've got a simpler wrap for a handle or whatever, and then a bit more of a decorative top and bottom to it. But it does mean once you've tightened up a Turk's head onto something, it does hold quite well. So as a starter and a finish for a wrap, you could even, I guess, you could even use it if you're going to tie a handle for a traditional longbow or something like that. You could even start with the Turk's head, just wrap the cord around as you're going to to go tight, just to make sure that the handle was all together, but tight, wrap around up to the bow shaft, and then tie another Turk's head at the top, and that would give you quite a nice handle. You could even, I guess, if you're using a traditional longbow that doesn't use an arrow rest or anything like that, or have a shelf, just a stick, proper traditional longbow with no arrow shelf or cutaway, then you could use the top of the more bulky part of the Turk's head as a sort of arrow rest and arrow guide. Never tried it, but just the idea comes to mind. Right, so now we're on the third layer, and again, like we're coming round, and I've already gone under this one, but it's at this stage. If you want to use I'll back up one loop. So it's at this stage where you've just gone around, and if I wanted to introduce another colour, instead of going on to the 3 bit there, I would leave that there, and then I would introduce my new colour into this by picking up another bit of cord and going under here and going around with that one. So it's every time that you come back to your working end one, if you like, that's when you'll make the decision to. Well, you've already made the decision because you'll need to cut the cord beforehand, but that's where you'd actually insert your new one. So, but we're just going around, put the third layer of this together. if you do go and decide to go and use this to make a bow handle out of, check, and you shoot in competitions, to just check that you're not doing anything that might get judges of that competition a bit annoyed, because it might be construed, because it has turns to it, it might be construed as a sighting device of some kind, or a rangefinder. Although, you know, all this counting of stitches in your shooting tab is something commonly done. I think it's a bit different though, because you're not supposed to have anything like that on your bow itself. So, but just be aware that someone might turn around and say, "Oh, you're not meant to have any kind of stripy thing on your bow that could be used as a sight or rangefinder." Your rules for whatever competition that you enter in could be different. Now with my bows, I either leave them raw wood and use a glove, or use broad leather strapping. That's by the by. Right, so we're nearly back again. All of that quick jibber jabbering got us all the way back around our third thing. So we've got 3 all the way around apart from that one. So to finish off, if I went underneath there, I'd be starting a 4th one, but instead I'm going to go straight down into the knot like that, and pull that tight. There we go. And now I've got 3 all the way around, and a couple of loose ends, right? So what you'd need to do now is just to go around, hold on to that, but just go round and just dressing the knot, which is just a case of following the loops that you have made all the way around from the standing end, just pulling out the loose bits. As you can see, there's some here. If you are doing this around something, then what you'd do is you'd go around several times, pulling it a little bit tighter every time, so eventually it's really tight against the whatever it is that you are, axe handle, bow stave, whatever you're tying around it. And you can see they nearly crossed over each other there. It's quite easy to suddenly start tightening them up so they're like this. Again, just take a little bit of care when you're tightening up your loops, that they are that you're actually following things around properly, and they are staying in order as you go about. Again, you can use a fid needle or something like that just to make this a lot easier. I don't find it that difficult as it is without one, but it does make it easier, especially, like I said, if you're doing this with young people who might need just that extra little bit of help for the coordination on the fiddly bits. Right, so going around, not much actually, it's not as loose as what you usually find is when you're doing it on your fingers, the turns that you've done on this side of your fingers tend to be quite open and loose, and the turns you've done on this side of your fingers tend to be quite neat and together. So if you do it that way and keep as close to your fingers as you can while still leaving room to go in and out and so on, then what you'll find is it tightens up. Part of it will already be really quite neat and tight. And the other thing is, you don't distract yourself, because in putting the thing down and talking to you guys again like that meant I went the wrong way around that third coil and started going back onto myself. So pay attention to what's going on and what you're doing, and then eventually we should get round to our end bit there, so I can pull that out. Right, so that's the slacks taken out of it, and that would make a reasonable woggle or a whatever you want to call it. Forgotten the name of it again. Napkin ring or something like that. As it is, nice, relatively neat loop. And if you want to finish it off, there are several ways to do this. With paracord, obviously, if you can see inside, you see you've got these two. These are our two loose ends, and you've got the turns inside that they go from. So with paracord, you've got the option of trimming those down and just applying a bit of heat or fire or flame to them. Be careful when you're dealing with melted paracord. If you get it on your fingers, it hurts. So just be careful. But you can obviously melt the paracord so that it's nice and neat and stable inside. Another option is just glue. I found if you're making a woggle, especially if you're using leather, then if you just glue the paracord like in a cross shape, like so, inside, and use something that has a more rubbery texture to it after it's dried, some of the epoxy glue, for example, still has a rubbery texture on the top of it. Not sticky, you don't want it sticky, but just a more grippy surface. Make sure that if you're using any kind of glue on paracord, that it's not going to be glue that goes and melts the paracord and does all sorts of nasty things. But and the reason why I'm saying that, a nice rubbery finish glue, maybe even rubber cement. The reason why I say that is because especially if you're a scout, one of the things one of the things that as a scout leader I often get involved in is woggle hunts, because they've fallen off or whatever, and you can tell them to tie knots into their scarves to keep the woggle secure, or just take them off and put them into their pocket and just tie a knot in their neck instead. But still, they get lost and yeah, slide off. And even adults and stuff, you suddenly look at one and woggle has vanished, and they've just got a loose neck on their neck and they haven't even noticed. So using a blob of glue to secure those two ends in, rubber textured glue, something that's got a bit of grip, just gives it, the woggle, that much grip on your necker, and prevents it from falling off without you realising it. The traditional way of doing it is to lie those two ends next to each other and sew them into place. So you can get some cord and just sew those things tightly together inside the woggle, and that will hold everything. It will stop these two ends coming loose, and it will hold everything together. You can even stitch them to some of your turns inside for a bit of extra security. So they're the kind of the three basic ways of finishing it off. If it's paracord melting, you can glue it, and glue will give you a bit of extra grip inside it for neckers, or you can sew it, which is a traditional way, and in some ways it's a bit more satisfying that you haven't used any sticky stuff to finish them off. But as it is, there you go. One Turk's head knot, generally used as a finishing knot. Can also be used as a loop or a fastener for a necker, a woggle, napkin ring, axe handle, bow handle, all sorts of things. It's a decorative finishing knot. There you go. So, hope you enjoyed that. A bit of a ramble at the same time. One of the most important things about knots, it's not just the ability to tie them or the knowledge to tie them. Everyone can tie knots. It's just all about knowledge and patience. The important thing is that you know what they do and you know what they are for, and if you know that, you know how to tie the knots and you know what they're for, then they can actually make your life pretty easy, or easier. I need a standing loop, so I know a knot that's used for a standing loop. I need to tie these two bits of rope together. I need to tie something that's going to be able to fix my car temporarily and get me home safely, or I need to tie a tow rope onto this car, or I need to I'm in the middle of a gig and my guitar string is broken and I don't have any spare guitar strings, and I need to tie a string back together, so I've got a temporary fix that will get me through to the end of the gig. All of things, my journey in tying knots, I have done, and being able to tie these knots has helped me immensely in several different ways. There you go, Turk's head knot. Useful thing to have in your knotting arsenal. Not the hardest knot in the world to tie. Looks harder than it is. Give it a go and enjoy. Take care.